Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Janis Gillham Grady. How you doing today, Janis?
Good, Mark, and g'day, everybody. And welcome to Scientology Peeling the Onion Live.
Yeah, no, we haven't done this in a while. I can't even remember the last live that we did. You know, it's been a little bit of time and everything, but we'll give people a chance to get in here. You know, because we just started at 5 o'clock and stuff. But yeah, it's been a while. You've had a busy summer so far, and I have too, and a lot of exciting things going on. And we thought we'd do a show and let people ask us questions if they want about Scientology or whatever they want, and we will respond, right?
Yep. And you know why I picked this time?
So people from the West Coast?
Because well, it's Thursday, and I figure Hawaii I think is 2 o'clock. So it gives them a chance to get their stats turned in, because California's already done that.
That's true. That's true. It is Thursday. You know, so 2 o'clock, it's come and gone for us, but, you know, for other parts of the world, it's still going on. We've got some people in the house. Go in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Say hello or whatever. We've got our first person here is Varia Barizik One, happy in Ontario, Canada. Yeah, Ontario, Canada. Welcome. We're happy you're here. And then we've got here's Brooklyn Keeley. Hey, all, listening from Taos, New Mexico here. Welcome. Happy to have you here. Have you ever been to Taos, New Mexico, Janis?
No, not Taos. I've been in New Mexico. I've been in Albuquerque and Santa Fe.
That's cool. And then here's the next one here. We've got from Tippy22. Ooh, alive. Hello from the Bug Fire Evacuation Zone. Bug Fire Evacuation Zone.
What does that mean?
Tell us where that is. We're not familiar with it.
Yeah. I know there's a bunch of places burning right now, and there's a lot of evacuations going on in different parts of the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. And then we've got a YouTube watcher here. Hello, good evening, everyone. Eastern Standard Time Zone here. Welcome to the show. And here's another one. Here's EXJW Vernon. Hello, Mark and Janis. Well, hello. How happy to have you at our channel. And we hope you enjoy the show, and you hope you're enjoying our channel. Just so you guys, I want to let you know, we've already got one question in the chat already. But if you want to ask us a question, it makes it easy if you just write question and then you know, state your question, and then we can put it up there because we keep going here. And we've got one already. But first of all, Mary Kay
Albuquerque,
from Albuquerque, New Mexico, home of Breaking Bad.
Oh,
TV show. Yeah. They filmed that in Albuquerque.
Yeah. I never enjoyed that show. I just couldn't get it.
Yeah. Anyway, and then I'll go ahead and I've got a question, so we may as well start answering it. Just so everybody know, you know, Scientology Peeling the Onion, we cover the history of Scientology through interviews of people who worked with L. Ron Hubbard, David Miscavige, and were around, and people like Janis and myself. We tell our stories as well. And then we also tell the people's stories about their experiences in Scientology, whether they were abused, whether, you know, something bad happened or something good. We also have people from the free zone of Scientology and independent Scientologists who, you know, tell their stories. And, you know, a lot of people have wins with Scientology, even though they're not part of the, you know, the organized David Miscavige church. And so we'll tell those stories too, because we're not going to discriminate against somebody if they want to believe Scientology, that's up to them. But we put the stuff out there for people so that way they know what's going on. Anyway, and so we've been doing this now for almost 4 years, and we've done over 400 videos, and we've interviewed quite a few people, and it's been a lot of fun, right, Janis?
Yeah, it has. It's been a great time putting together and talking to people and letting them know, getting them through their fears, you know, of coming on. And then when they're done doing their interviews with us, the relief that they have is just amazing to watch and be a part of.
That's right. That's right. Well, we've got quite a few viewers here. Before we go to questions, I'm starring them, Janis. I don't know if you can star them or not. Do you have to see them on your list to star?
I just tried. And I couldn't star them.
Do you have a column that says live and starred or just live?
Live. Oh, starred.
Well,
I can.
Yeah, that's
those are ones you've starred.
That I've starred already. Yeah. So then.
But I can't. Yeah, I can't star them myself.
But you can see them if you wanted to pull them up. You can, right? I guess.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, but we'll keep going through here. What I want to mention is, Janis, you've been out. You have 2 new grandchildren, and we thought we would share a few photographs of them with everybody here to get started with. Okay, here's the first one here. Why don't you tell everybody who that is?
Well, yeah, that's me in Kansas with Elizabeth, who's my first grandchild. She's 6 years old, and then in my lap is George. He is probably 4 months old in that picture, going on 5 months. And he lives in Kansas. And so to see him, I have to go to Kansas. And Elizabeth lives in LA with her dad. So I will take her from LA and fly with her to Kansas and spend her holidays with her and her mom, and then fly her back to LA. Not a great situation, but it exists and we just deal with it. And, I get that special time traveling with her. It's just grandma and her. So that's fun. And then this is me with George. He's huge. I'll tell you.
How old is he? He's only like 3 months. See what, 3-4 months old?
No. He's now 5? April, let me see, March, April, May, June, July, 5 months old.
And he's huge. And he's almost half your size.
He's a big boy. Yeah, he's a big boy. He's heavy. Your arms get a definite workout carrying him. And he loves to always just face forward. You can't use your shoulder to help with the weight. He wants to be held facing forward. Yeah.
Professor Kakan is in the house. Beautiful Granny and George.
Yeah. And
we're glad you're here.
Mark, he's such a character. It's funny. He has a half sister who's 11, and then Elizabeth, who's his half sister, and she's 6. And he has a jumper that he jumps in. And the 11-year-old Keva came up with this rap song about George jumping. Big fat George, jumping. And she just starts this rap song. And then Elizabeth joins in. And it's a funny video watching him just, as the girls get excited and rap, and he's like bouncing as high as he can go into their rap song. It's actually pretty funny. Yeah.
And here's and Crates 2020 says, that smile on your face says it all. Well, wait till you see these next photos. And this is your granddaughter, Grace, right?
Yep, this is Gracie. She's 27 days younger than George. And, George has taken off in weight, and she's just a beautiful, in shape. She does workouts. Her grandmother on the other side, I call her Glammy, very glamorous grandma. She got her little weights, and Megan her mother is a personal trainer at Lifetime Fitness. And so they got a squat instructor outfit for her. and I'll tell you, you have to squat, you squat to sit down with you squat to stand up. And, she's like a 15-pound weight as you're going up and down. And it's so true being a squat instructor.
Yeah, she's really cute. And they live here in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, they live here. And she actually just got signed up at Lifetime so that when Megan goes to instruct, she's going to be in there continuing as the squat instructor.
And here you can see the size of Grace. There's Grace with your son, John, right? The father.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. She's a little smaller than George. You can tell, even though she's a month younger.
Well, she was actually born bigger than George, but George took off.
And then Professor Kakan has a question. Is one of the kids his name Kimma, or has Kimma in the name?
No. But yeah, well, Kimma, just so everyone knows, my mother was Yvonne, but when my mother passed and I had my kids, Kimma Douglas or Dunleavy, she stepped in and took on the role of grandmother to my kids. She and Mike Douglas became their grandparents, and we'd go visit them in Hawaii. They would come visit us, and and then when she moved to Washington, we'd go visit her, and the kids would sometimes fly up and spend time with Kimma, who would teach them cooking. She just took on that role.
And we're just Janis and I have talked about, we're going to do a show on Kimma and Mike Douglas because they were key. They were around Hubbard, personally for quite some time, right, Janis?
Yeah, they were. They went off with him a couple of times when it was just them. So and Kimma was Hubbard's personal steward and his nurse, and she was very heavily involved in a lot of things concerning Scientology and the Sea Org.
Okay. Well, we've got 9 questions here already stacked up. Janis, can you go to start? See if you can put up the first question while I continue, and I'll start any new ones. Can you do that if you click on the thing?
Yeah, but we're missing the very first question, which is about reach and withdraw. That's not up there. No, but I saw it when I was looking. Someone is asking if reach and withdraw is done physically. Oh, okay. Do you think that's
question?
Nope. That's not the
do you think that someone? Yeah, this is it. Question: do you think that sometime in the future the church can be recomposed with the watchdog communities? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's not there anymore, Janis. It's not on the list. The reach.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway,
let's do this first one. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let me read it first. Question: do you think that sometime in the future, the church can be recomposed with the watchdog committee, in the executive strata, and a reformed tech? That's a good question. I just did a video about things that I think that would have to change in Scientology if it's ever going to really take off after Miscavige is gone. But go ahead, Janis. Why don't you answer it?
Well, that's the point. Miscavige has to be gone. He either has to age out, or he has to go to the RPF and accept that and get himself fixed. But Miscavige has to be gone. There is no recomposing or fixing anything until the real SP is gone.
Yeah, and part of that has to do with the fact, that would have to mean after he's gone, there's somebody there that remembers what LRH's intention was in terms of how Scientology should be managed. And they go, we're going back to source, and we're going to put in these orders, and we're hiring and we're putting in all these people and stuff. But,
right. And the reason we're doing today's live is because today is my 36th anniversary of being gone. So I don't know what the executive situation is and who is executives for DM. Does he have all these second generation Sea Org members who know nothing else in the world and all they know is DM's management? Or are there people like Mark Yeager and Guillaume Laserve who, when I was there, they had heads on their shoulders and common sense. But who knows how much destruction has happened to them having operated for so long under Miscavige's suppressive actions. I don't know.
That's right. And congratulations on 36 years. Your escape was 36 years ago today.
Yes, it was. Barefoot and pregnant.
Now, that brings up another thing, too. Yesterday was Sea Org Day. So the Sea Org started August 12th, 1967. Is that right? 67?
That's right.
So yes. It's the 59th anniversary of the Sea Organization. Oh, boy, they got a long way to go to hit that billion.
Yeah. And what's funny? I think back, and it's like when I was wanting to leave, I was like, I've got to at least last out until Sea Org Day, because then my bonuses would be in place, because I would have had 22 years worth of bonus for those years, which, at that time I had no money. So that was probably about $300-400, which meant a lot to me. But I left too soon in order to get the bonus. So they still owe that to me.
Yeah, somebody asked me today, how much a year was it for the bonus? I don't remember. Was it 20 years?
I don't remember.
To $50, $20 a year, 50. I don't know. They probably went down the more years you were there,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
somebody else says happy anniversary, Janice. So there we go.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
All right.
But let me go back to that question that was there on reach and withdraw. They were asking, was it done physically or mentally?
It's here again. Hold on. I'm going to put it
Oh,
up
it is
here.
there? Okay.
How does one do reach and withdraw? Is it a mental action, or do you physically move your hand and reach and withdraw? This is a Scientology L. Ron Hubbard process. Go ahead, Janice.
Yeah, I grew up with reach and withdraw, and you can do it with your hand, you can do it with your body, you can reach to an object and withdraw from the object, or a person and withdraw from, or you can play a mental game with it as well, where say some guy really likes some girl and she's playing hard to get, so you just do a reach and withdraw in order to make that connection. And I've seen it work, but that's what it is. So it's physical and mental. It depends on how you're playing the game.
That's right. Okay, let me go on to the next question. Here we go. Question for Mark from YouTube Watcher. Question for Mark. Did you ever take the personal efficiency course? Do you remember the do it now policy? Can you please explain it? No, I never did that didn't exist, the personal efficiency course when I got in Scientology. You did the communications course, the Hubbard communications course. That was the HAS course, it was called, right? And then you, after that, you did the Hubbard qualified Scientologist course. So those are the things. Do I remember do it now policy? Absolutely. That's in the problems of workbook. And it's actually, whether or not it's from Hubbard or not, it's actually a good thing to do, because if you don't do it now and get it completed, that means extra work for you, which is called develop traffic, right, Janice? And that means you got to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again, because you never finish it, or you just, I'll get to it later, and you never do. So it's actually more efficient if you do, take care of something and handle it to completion. And that's what
right Now, I would like to speak about the personal efficiency course, because my parents they had our center in Melbourne was called the Personal Efficiency Center. And my dad, before I was even born, started giving personal efficiency courses and lectures. And actually, when he started in Euroa, which is where I was born in Victoria, Australia, my dad ran an ad in the paper on personal efficiency, and it was going to be a 7-night course. And when he did his first lecture, he had 8 people respond to his newspaper article. And by the time he got to a week, 7 days, there was 1 person left. And that person, some people out there will know Noel Barton. He was the stepfather of Liz Ingber, Marion Witcher, Nettie Alcock, and Andrew Barton. And he actually had a birthday just 2 days ago, and he lives in Australia, in Perth. He's now in his 90s. So, and I keep in regular touch with him. He was there when I was born and known me the longest out of anybody still alive, except my brother and sister. So, but anyway, but my dad, he had all his notes, and every time Hubbard released a new policy letter or a PAB, my dad would then take all his notes and he would lecture on that. And he actually became one of the top lecturers on the subject of Scientology, and actually was paid to tour missions and orgs. And he could show up and 200 people would be there for one of his PE lectures.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, good. Here comes the next question. Janis, does your son help with the making of your vitamin liquid? I am a faithful purchaser, and I have bought about 4 bottles so far.
Good. No, my son, though he's a certified nutritionist and everything else, he works for another supplement company, so he can't work with me on this. But the person who formulated that was my husband, Paul. And Paul was a nutritionist as well. So actually, right before he died, he gave me here's the formula, and he'd been doing all the research and everything. And in his honor, and since he put so much time into it, I put it together. had to find a manufacturer first that I was happy with and that would use the actual good products that we wanted. And it took a while, and there it is. Yeah, and it's a great product.
And you can order it down below in our merchandise store. Just click on it in our video description. It's complete liquid multivitamins, peach flavored. Refrigerate it, shake it up, 2 tablespoons, a shot glass. You've taken all your vitamins for the day. You ditch the pills, drink the power, right, Janis?
That's right. And yeah, and Vernon, I appreciate you being a solid customer and really enjoying the product. That makes me very happy because I put a lot of work into this, and I myself take it. My daughter takes it. I don't know if my son takes it, but I know his mother-in-law, Glammy, does.
Okay, great. That's that. Oh, I already did that one. Sorry. Okay, here's the next question. We're out of practice, people. We haven't done this in a little while, so sorry. Question: did you guys read about the Scientology undercover story today about children? Yeah, that was in the Times of London or Financial Times somewhere in the UK. And I didn't read it, but it was sent to me by Apostate Alex and also Amir Asali, who used to be staff at the Edinburgh org that we've interviewed, and also he's come to see us here in Las Vegas. But no, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. How about you, Janis?
No, I haven't read the article. Amir sent it to me, and I've just been running all day, so I have not had a chance to read it. But I got 4 text messages from Amir with different things to read, so I've got to catch up on that. Yeah,
exactly. I'm starting some more questions here. I'm just going in order, just so you all know. So let's see if I have anything else here. All right, there's lots of questions, but anyway, we're getting up here now, so we'll get rocking through these. We've got 14 questions here. Let's see. Next one. Here we go. Question for Janis. I've read the Hubbard took testosterone pills. Do you have any knowledge of that? Testosterone pills cause flashes of rage and anger. Could that have contributed to his bursts?
I don't know of him ever having taken that. I saw the vitamin bottles that the stewards used to put his vitamins in. I never saw anything like that. It was usually, the standard vitamins. So as far as I know, no, he didn't. But he had several different things going on with his body. I remember my husband saying he probably had candidiasis, which can also cause problems like that. So, but the interesting thing with Hubbard's outbursts is he could have these anger outbursts and then turn them off right away. It was like, and I kind of used to think, oh, he's just doing that to, having a tantrum to get attention, because he was so good at turning it off right away and didn't remain upset. And, I know when I get up really mad about something, it takes me some time to shake it off, where he could just turn it off.
Yep. Okay, thanks for that question. Next question here is right here. Okay. Tippy 2, I'd love to hear your opinions on remaining impartial in the ex-Scientology circle. Go ahead, Janis.
Well, we do. I'm okay with people having whatever they want to believe. And
as long as they're not abusing people, abusing people or doing something, to hurt somebody else.
Right. And it's their choice. And it's like, who am I to tell someone what they should believe? They can believe in Jesus if they want. They can believe in God, or there being many gods or one God. They can believe in just being themselves and that there are no gods. It's up to each individual. And I like to stay neutral on that. And because you can get in major arguments with people and no one's going to win it, because, it's their faith. Let them have what they want to do, as long as it's not hurting.
Not just in Scientology. Right. It can happen in Christian faiths and other faiths too. People argue over it all the time.
Yeah, as long as there is no one being abused or hurt, I do have my own views, having lived in Morocco on and off, and other Arab countries. I have my own views on Sharia law, and I'm very much opposed to that because that is abusive, and that's going backwards. The rest of the religions, or even Scientology beliefs, I don't have that same feeling.
Yeah, and on our channel, we will show both sides, because Janis and I acknowledge, I got benefit out of the early Scientology stuff that I did in my early years, and a lot of the training and stuff that I learned in Scientology, I still use to this day without saying, "Oh, that's Scientology." You know what I mean? So there was definite benefits. Otherwise, all these people would not be involved. I mean, all these people that are successful and all that, there's some truth there that keeps them there, and it's not all just brainwashing and mind control. I mean, so we left, and then we got the truth about lots of different things about Hubbard and abusive stories and things like that we hadn't heard of before. And that changes your viewpoint to a degree. But I have always said, I'm never going to let somebody tell me that the gains and wins that I'd had were not mine, or that they didn't exist, because they do exist. So, it's like anything, nothing is perfect. And that was one of the first realizations I had after I left Scientology, was that, thought everything was perfect in Scientology. Well, then you find out that that's not the way the world works. Okay, thanks for that question. Let's go to the next one here. Janis, do you see the personalities of your mom and dad in your grandchildren? What would your parents think about your being great grandparents?
Well, my mother died at 50 years old, and she loved kids. She was a kindergarten director. Even in the Sea Org, she would go to the nursery and, talk to the kids and hold them and that type of thing. But with her own kids, it was different. Scientology became a priority over us. So, but seeing how she interacted with other people's babies, I think she would be a very proud grandmother and a great grandmother. But she wasn't alive when my kids were born, which is why, as I said, Kimma held that job. But my dad he lived to 93 years old. Mm-hmm. So he got to see and hold Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth was first born, my daughter and her husband actually lived with my dad. So he got to experience the first 6 months of her life. And he would enjoy talking to her and holding her. He was a little nervous holding her, so we'd make him sit down and then hold her. But yeah, he was very proud.
Yeah, he was proud of John and Aaron too. I mean, he got to meet your
kids too. Well, yeah, and even when we were in the Sea Org, even when we'd left the Sea Org and we were declared, and he was a good standing patron to Scientology, we organized a few times where he would get to see the grandchildren. We had a mutual friend who would pick the kids up from us and take them to a hotel to meet with him. And so he got to appreciate the kids, and he'd take them to a show and to dinner, just him and the grandkids together. And he enjoyed that. There was 5 of them at the time. There still is 5. No, there's 6 now of the grandchildren. So yeah, he went out of his way, and he knew he was risking things by doing that. And then when we finally got him totally out, then he spent more time with the grandkids.
Okay. Thanks for that question. Here's the next one. Question. Have you ever known a Scientologist to name their child Ron or Lafayette? Ron, for sure. Ronald, yeah. How about you, Janis?
Yeah, and even Theta. And there was a whole bunch of different Scientology terms, but Theta, I think, was the main one. Mark Hadley gives a story about a son born in Scientology whose name was Theta.
Oh.
And I got to remember that story or look it up, and we'll bring it up on another interview. But it's a great story that Mark Hadley gives.
Wasn't it like something like Power or Juice or something? Yeah. He was an electrician.
Power Theta or something.
I forget what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to look that up and reference it at some point.
Okay. Thanks for that question. Here's the next one here. Vernon, question mark, are you still losing weight on Manjaro? I am still taking Manjaro. I lost 93 pounds, but then last year I had a health situation that was separate, and I was put on a medication that I had to take for almost a year. And it caused me, even though I was taking Manjaro, I gained back about 30 pounds, and I retained a lot of water and that type of thing. But I've been off of that now for like the last 2 months, and I've started to lose weight again. Okay, because I didn't change my eating habits. It just was I retained a lot of moisture, a lot of water, a lot of liquids or whatever. But on the positive side, since last December, I go to the gym 3 times a week. I've been to the gym to exercise, lift weights, and that type of thing more than I have in my entire life. For the last 6, 7, 8 months, I've been going to the gym 3 times a week. And as we get older, you got to strengthen those legs and strengthen those arms and that type of thing, particularly when I was losing weight, because I also was losing muscle mass too. So, but I'm really healthy now, and thank you for asking. Next question, where are we at here? Hold on, sorry. Oh, that's the breach from withdrawal one. Okay. Sorry about that. Here we go. Did you have to buy expensive book packages? No.
No, it didn't really exist.
Yeah, we were staff, and we didn't. You just bought a book if it came out for the public, but we didn't. It wasn't required that the public even buy whole book packages.
But they weren't even packaged. It was like you had the individual books, and you went and you got whatever books you needed for your course. Well, this would be a public person. In the Sea Org, it was already supplied in the crew library, in the course room. But for public, you just
and the
bought
book
whatever
packaging,
books you needed.
And book packaging was really a marketing and sales idea to sell more
Yeah.
books. Instead of buying one, why don't you buy all these 3? Because we package them together in the, whatever package, you know what I mean? The Phoenix lecture package or whatever. But no, we didn't have to do that. Now it was encouraged to sell books, for the staff members, and they would get a commission if they sold books as well. Right, Janis? I mean, I remember Abdel used to sell huge book packages to the public at Flag, and that's how they made money, but no, we didn't have to do that. And here's the next question here is, what did you study for 2.5 hours a day? Let me answer that one first. I did most of my training on my staff study time, 2.5 hours a day. I religiously went. I mean, I got in Scientology and I joined staff because I wanted to go up the bridge and I wanted to get highly trained in Scientology technology and majorly in administrative administrative policy. And so I thought that was my reward, and if I was going to take full advantage of it. Now, obviously, sometimes when you're up all night working and stuff like that, you can't go. And a lot of staff would not go anyway because they were tired or they wanted to do something else. But I went and I made sure, and I got all the way through my OEC, FEBC, DSCC, which were all the highly administrative training. I did technical training as well. And that's why I got involved in Scientology. So I definitely did. How about you, Janis?
Well, yeah, in the Sea Org, even before the Sea Org, when I was 10 years old, I did the children's communication course. But then when I got in the Sea Org, you had 2.5 hours and you had to do your staff statuses to start with, and Sea Org staff status, and able-bodied seaman. And so there was all these various courses you had to do. And then you could work on your full hat, because as time went by, if you got fully hatted, you had more awards rather than penalties. And even later in the CMO, years later, if you got fully hatted, you qualified for bonuses, where if you weren't fully hatted, you didn't get bonuses. So that is what one would spend their 2.5 hours on. Now, I know some people who doing 2.5 hours study actually got through auditor training and would do a co-audit with each other in order to move up the Scientology auditing bridge and become trained auditors. Jeff Walker, when he came, he was an engineer on the ship, and during his 2.5 hours, he did a co-audit and became a class 4 and then a class 6. And then he moved over and became an auditor in the HGC, the Hubbard Guidance Center, and when, from there, he then became a class 12 and you couldn't get higher than what he was. But there were people who would never miss their 2.5 hours, where personally, I'd prefer hanging out in a lifeboat than sitting in a course room.
Yep, that's basically it. And look, and I feel bad too for a lot of the staff, because Janis, I know you were in a similar position to me. We got auditing. We were able to go up the bridge because of our positions. The fact that we were in senior executive positions, they gave us priority in terms of getting auditing. And also everybody had to go to study, and it was our intention to study and to do that. But I got involved in the Sea Org because I was involved with Scientology. I believed it as a teenager. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't there to do my job. I was there to get personal gain and benefit too. So I feel sorry for the staff that did not get auditing, actual counseling. Okay. They got security checks. They got confessionals, they call it, ethics handlings. That's what they got. They never got the lower grades, the communication level grade or the problem solving grade or any of the stuff that actually benefited me as a teenager before I ever even got into the Sea organization. So I feel sorry for them for that. But we both, Janis and I, we both got up to the OT levels when we were in the Sea Org, right, Janis?
Yeah, we did. And well, as a Commodore's messenger, I was a priority. So, I got in a lot of auditing on the ship and even later on. And I did go all the way up. But, here's a question I used to ask some people as to how could you have been a NOTS auditor, a class 9 auditor, or even a class 12, and now you don't even believe in Scientology? How does that even happen? And it's like, did you falsify telling people they had a floating needle or what?
Did you not witness them having wins and being blown out and having cognitions and seeing their life change? I mean, I did when I was auditing other people, and that's why I go like, how can you say that this was bad? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah, well, some of these people responded, well, that was just a short-term win for the PC. But, and then that all goes away. But I will say, having grown up in Scientology, I watched a lot of change in people as they progress through the courses or through auditing. And, and I've seen them later on where they don't believe in any of it. And that's where I'm like, I'm not going to argue with someone about it. It's up to them. It's what's real to them, and what has helped them. I know with myself, I tell myself I can do things, and that's how I achieve it. It's like I could just sit back and do nothing, or I can step forward and do something. No one else is stepping forward, so I may as well do it. And that's how I ended up, starting off in the mortgage industry, knowing nothing when I left.
Yeah. I
didn't even know what a mortgage was. But I moved all the way up through the industry to the point where I was the president of the Nevada Association of Mortgage Professionals. And then I was the chairman of the Mortgage Advisory Council for the state of Nevada. And that's because I chose to do something and not just sit back.
You chose to take responsibility for the industry.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, next question here. All right. Question for both Mark and Janis. How many years prior or times you thought to escape before actually taking the plunge or able to make it work?
Many. Growing up as a kid on the ship as a slave, I was on the ship from January 1968 until 1973. That was my life. I did get liberty every 2 weeks. I had study time, or I had to go to cadet school 3 hours a day. And that was it. But I didn't get to go anywhere unless Hubbard moved ashore. And so, there was a month I lived in Agadir in Morocco, and 3 months I lived in Tangier in Morocco. And that was pretty much it. And then my mom came to the ship, and I'd only seen her in those 5 years. I'd only seen her maybe 3 times when she'd be at the ship. And then she was like, I'm going to get your dad to pay for you girls to come and visit. So he did do that. So after 5 years on the ship and 5 years not seeing my dad, I came to America, and it was like, wow, these supermarkets were huge. You know, everything was abundant. You know, the roads were wide, the cars were big. Everything was just so huge compared to living in Arab countries or in Europe. And with that, on my first leave, I kind of thought, what if I don't go back? I could do this, you know, I could enjoy having my own freedom and doing what I want. I was 17 years old. But then it was like, well, all my friends, my whole life, I don't know anybody out here. And what would my parents say? They're proud of me working with Hubbard. And what would they say if I say I don't want to go back? So you kind of you go back. And it was interesting. The second time my sister and I took a leave, Hubbard was there when we got back. And that's when he ordered anyone coming back from leave is to get SEC checked and asked if they thought of leaving or not. And so that's when that came out, where when people left for leave, they got SEC checked, and when they returned, they got SEC checked. And that was because when my sister and I came back, I guess we were just kind of more lackadaisical about things, having spent 3 weeks in America. You know, I was what,
living the life of luxury in comparison.
Yeah, I was 18 at that time, and you know, I was coming out of my shell, you know, but I went back to the ship. Every leave I'd go back.
For me, in 1983, 7 years before I finally did leave and escape, was when I got assigned to the RPF, because I was, quote unquote, disaffected with management, which was David Miscavige at the time. This is before I ever worked for him. And I had disagreements with what was happening, getting rid of David Mayo and all the different executives at the time that was going on. And so I was sent to the RPF, and I had serious doubts about what I was going to do and if I was going to leave. But then I got into the RPF program, got assigned somebody to be my twin, and had to take responsibility for them. And then those thoughts went out the door. And then I didn't think about it again until, you know, the day that I left in May of 1990 for the first time to be with my wife, so that I could go and, you know, they'd assigned me to the RPF to be with my wife because I didn't agree with my wife being removed. So that was
Right.
only the second time. And then it went downhill fast from there. And of course, we cover that in my escape story. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, also, Mark, when I was assigned to the RPF in May of 1978, that's the first time I was like, I'm gone. I'm leaving. Give me a writing form. I'm not doing the RPF. And that's when I ended up being locked up for 11 days. And we did an interview with Tom DeFore, who was my security guard in blue, while he was supposed to be watching me. But, you know, I was then talked into staying by Mary Sue. And I reluctantly was on the RPF, and I really didn't want to be there, but I couldn't figure out, well, where am I going to go? You know, my dad's a Scientologist in good standing. My mother had just passed away 4 months beforehand. My brother and sister are dedicated SEAL members. The rest of my family's in Australia. Where am I going to go? I had no one to turn to. And that's where I joked with Tom DeFore later on. I'm like, you could have at least told me you were leaving. I would have left with you. But, you know, I had no one. And I know there's people in there still who have no one, or they think they have no one, when there are people. There's us, and there's so many people there who would help people if they want to leave. You know, there's even the Aftermath Foundation. Yeah. They get donations and help people get reestablished in life.
Yeah.
Or set up in life for the first time. Like if it was me, you know, I was 11 years old when I went on the ship. So I'd never really lived to know how the real world worked. And I had no resume. I had no money. I had no credit, you know. So it's a big jump as to when you leave and where do you go.
Yep. All right, let's go on to the next question here. This is, have you seen Dangerous Persuasion with Nancy Maney? It's on Tubi, My Eternal Contract. I think I saw it several years ago. I think that's an older thing. That's Nancy when she wrote her book.
Yeah,
Nancy,
My
of course, is a
Billion
friend
Year.
of ours. We've known her for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Janis?
No, I might have seen bits of it because I remember watching Nancy being interviewed.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that was a long time ago.
All right, here's the next one here. YouTube watcher, I heard the phrase confront the whole track, meaning OTTR 0. I've seen about confronting people, but how does one confront a reality, concept, or organization with mental image pictures? I don't ever remember hearing that.
I've not heard it either. I mean, if you're going to confront the whole track, I mean, you may as well go in for some Dianetics auditing.
But, you know, they
go
did,
to the
they
beginning
would have
of the
you
incident.
confront. Yeah, well, they would have you confront, like, if you had a piece of equipment that you needed to learn how to use, it'd be on your check sheet to do reach and withdraw on it so that you felt comfortable being with that new typewriter or that new machinist tool. And then they'd have you sit there and do OTTR 0 or TR 0 to make you comfortable around it. That was the whole purpose of it, I guess.
But otherwise, you'd go to the beginning of the incident and tell the auditor when you're there, and then you'd keep going back and back and back to the beginning of the incident, no matter how whole tracky it is.
Okay, let's go through. We've got some more of these questions here. We'll go through right here. Okay, COBILF. Do you have any knowledge about a Scientology entity called FSO, Oklahoma Investments Corp, or something like that? I can't find very little information on that.
No.
I don't know. The only thing I remember about Oklahoma was gas oil investments by David Miscavige in Author Services in the 1980s when LRH was alive. And those oil wells went belly up. And that was the reason why Miscavige came up with, we're going to sell these prints of, these framed special art prints to make back the money that I lost, the $30 million of Mission Earth and Battlefield, because I lost Hubbard's money on the oil wells, and we can't tell him. And Hubbard never found out because he was in hiding.
No, he didn't. Yeah, that was Pat and David DM doing that together to try and make up for that loss.
Yeah, that's why if anybody ever had to buy like a limited edition print or anything like that, that whole scam was dreamed up to try and make money back because they had lost Hubbard's money investing in dry oil wells. Go ahead, Janis.
Well, yeah, speaking of those prints, I had some. I had my bonuses and I got talked into buying some because they were going to be worth something. So I bought some. And then when it was time for me to leave the Sea Org, I didn't have money, but I had my prints. and so what I did, I was out of the Sea Org by now, and I'm doing babysitting to make a little money to make ends meet. And I called Marshall Goldblatt. Marshall was a wealthy FCCI he was a realtor. He did a lot of the real estate deals for Scientology in LA. And he loved my mother. And I always stayed in touch with him. He was my mom's assistant for free as a volunteer. And when I was on the free wins, he came and we'd have dinner together a few times. Anyway, so I called Marshall and I said, Marshall, I'm pregnant. I've left the Sea Org. I've got no money, but I do have these prints. And so Marshall agreed to wire me some money. And I had the prints. I gave them to my dad, who dropped them off at Marshall's office. And then I told my sister about it. I said, Marshall, help me out. So she called Marshall. He's like, sorry, I can't help you. I had to work from treason upwards for helping Jan.
You got him in trouble.
I got him in trouble.
I'm sure he was happy to do it.
He was. But it helped me. It definitely did.
Okay, next question here. Question for both. Did you both have and wear Sea Org naval uniforms? Yes, when we had uniforms. There was a time where we wore civilian clothes, and particularly when we first were at the Gold at Gillham Hot Springs. I remember when I first got there, I mean, they didn't want anybody to know that we were there, so we wore jeans and whatever we wanted. But then once they got uniforms for the whole Sea Org, yeah, we wore them every day.
Yeah. And when you're on mission, you going out as a troubleshooter to any of the orgs, you have to wear a full Sea Org uniform where you've got, if you've got a rank, you've got the stripes on your arms, you've got the lanyard, you've got the cap. And I remember on one of my missions, when I went to DC, we had to leave quickly and didn't have time to change. So I'm at the airport in my full Sea Org uniform. And two people came up to me thinking I was a pilot because of the uniform I was wearing.
You could have ridden for free in the jump seat, said, I'm a pilot. I'm going to England, I was going to say I will say one thing. When we got our uniforms in the mid 80s, Paul, your husband, sent Steve Marlowe and Rick Kamen on mission to Taiwan to basically get all of the Sea Org uniforms. They were standardizing them all and getting them made, like literally made, like all the shirts made and all the pants and all the jackets. They were really nice. I mean, they were good quality. Now, the lower people in the lower orgs, they only got like maybe one or two shirts, right? But, because we were in senior positions, I got like 5 shirts and, pairs of pants and things like that. But my favorite uniform part, though, was the bridge coat that we got as officers, which was a wool, double-breasted navy blue coat that went below the knees. And it was really warm having that. And I liked it so much that after I left the Sea Org, when I was in Europe once, I was freezing there and I went, I'm going to get one of these coats made. And I had it made about 20 years ago, and I still have it in my closet here. Anyway, that's my uniform story.
Okay. Well, as a messenger on the ship, when we went on watch to work with the Commodore L. Ron Hubbard, we wore a uniform so that people knew that we were representing him. And as soon as we got off watch, we usually changed out of those uniforms and just put on like blue jeans and a blue shirt, which is pretty standard on what everyone was wearing.
Yeah, exactly. Next question. We'll roll through these here. Do you know if Tom Cruise is OT3 and know about Xenu? My understanding, we don't have personal knowledge, but I heard that he's up on OT7 or whatever, and he's done the bridge. So, yeah, my imagine is yes, he has. Okay, next question is here from Michael Murphy. Did Scientologists do general conversions, or was it all about Scientology, or was general conversations banned? Did Scientologists do general conversations, or was it all about Scientology, or was general conversations banned? Now, you could talk about whatever you wanted to, but generally you were talking about your work and Scientology, but you could talk about sports or we didn't watch television, and most people didn't know what was going on in the news. Yeah,
well, so you had a lot of conversations of people growing up and who they were, where they came from. You got to know people, and conversations. I remember at St. Hill, everyone talked about spaceships, and how a spaceship had landed, and that night they left their body and they entered the spaceship, and past lives was a very common conversation as well. There was so many people that had been Queen Elizabeth I, and you kind of wonder, where's this coming from? People making this up, or is it lots of different thetans around who are telling them this? You don't know, but you could talk about anything except the conversation you could not have, and if you tried to have it, you'd get in trouble for saying you wanted to leave.
Yeah, or also if you were complaining about somebody else, because then they would write a knowledge report about you. Natter, it's called Natter.
Yeah, Natter.
You're saying, I'm always saying, Janis, I hate that Janis. She's so terrible, this and that. You can't, if you said that to somebody else, they would have the responsibility of turning you in.
That's right. And to find out what your overts were on me.
That's right. Next question. I heard that when Sea Org members are leaving their bodies, they have 25 years to report back. How many have returned to the Sea Org so far?
That's 21 years. 21 years, because once you hit 21, you don't need your parents' permission. So if you grew up in a WOG family at 21 years old, you should be able to recall it and return. And I don't know of anyone returning.
Now,
There's probably people that say they've returned, but I don't know.
I will admit that when we left in 1990, we were still Scientologists hardcore, and we believed that Hubbard was going to come back. He died in 1986, and one of my thoughts was, we'll just wait it out until he comes back, and then he'll get it sorted out and get rid of Miscavige. Within about 6 months to a year of peeling my onion and reading books about Hubbard and that thought went away from me.
Well, if Hubbard has returned, DM's not telling anyone.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
What do I got here? Hold on. Oh, somebody made a comment here. Professor Kakam, by the way, Mark, your high school photos are great. You look like a dashing leading man. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was 50 years ago this year that I graduated high school and joined the Sea Organization. Unbelievable, But anyway, that's that. Next question. Where is L. Ron Hubbard's PC folders today? Now, I can attest to that when I was there, because I was the one who received them after he died. And a year later, when they were taken from Pat Broker, who had them in hiding. And, there was a whole operation done with private investigators and everything to get Hubbard's PC folders and his research away from Pat Broker, because that was the last bit of leverage he had that he could control Scientology with. And I got a phone call at 2 a.m. from Miscavige I had a landline in my bedroom. This is back in 1987. And I answered, and he said, Marty Rathbun and Norman were going to be showing up with a truck. I want you to let them into the LRH safe room. There was a safe room that we had for his valuables and stuff. And I knew the combination and how to get in there. He goes, I want you to let them in, let them put whatever's in there, and then lock it and change the locks. And don't tell anybody the combination. I don't care who asks you. You don't tell. You're the only person that's going to know that. And they were Hubbard's research materials. And that's where I last saw them. All right. Yeah. Next question from Rustic 9. Are we ever going to hear from your sister or brother? Can you tell anything about Doreen's life after the Sea Org?
My brother, no, you're not going to hear from him, but he will tell me stories so that I can tell them. And my sister, maybe. Don't say no. But now, as for Doreen was married to my brother. I think they were married about 12 years in the Sea Org. And then she blew from the Sea Org and my brother was still in. And you want to know her life afterwards. I don't know everything she did because I never saw her again. But I've talked to people that did. And she did well. She was actually writing her own book. But didn't get too far on it. I was given some of the pieces of what she'd written, and she got involved in finances. And so that's what she did. And she met another man, a wealthy man in Malibu, and ended up marrying him. And she had an Arabian horse that was very skittish. And sadly, she was out riding with some friends, and the horse took off at the sound of her rustle because she was getting a cookie out of the saddlebag for some little boy that was whining on another horse with his mother. And that startled her horse. The horse took off and she got dragged by the horse, fell out of the saddle with her foot stuck in the stirrup. And that is how she actually died. And that was around January of 1990, I believe it was. But yeah, she had done well. She did, which I have an issue with, she did get involved in drugs. But I don't know if she was still on them at that time. But she got into a crowd and was, doing some coke. And but she did succeed in life and did well.
We should do a story about her too, like we are going to do with Kim and Mike Douglas. And the reason I said we did do one about the flood at Gillham Hot Springs originally in 1981 or something. We had Matt Pesh on, and we had photographs.
1980, yeah.
Master Cook Canyon Inn flooded and like a rowboat, and Doreen was there, right? Because she was like the COCMO.
She was COCMO Gold, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were in a canoe, her and Ron Pook rowing around the base in the canoe.
Yeah. But that would be an interesting story. I mean, she was around Hubbard a lot, when she was a messenger and stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Next question. For Mark, what was your position in the Sea Org RTC? What were you in charge of? Well, I had many positions climbing up the ladder in management. My last one, though, was I was in charge of David Miscavige's personal office. It was called the Corporate Liaison Office. At first, it was in Scientology, in the Church of Scientology. But then after Hubbard died and they reorganized and set up Religious Technology Center with Miscavige, and, as the chairman of the board, my corporate liaison office moved over to RTC, and we handled all of Miscavige and Shelley's personal administrative needs, as well as domestic needs, cleaning their rooms, their laundry, their food. But then I also was the person that dealt with the people at Gold in regards to the movie studio, the sound studio, and anything having to do with that. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Along with a lot of other things.
Now, Mark, I'd like to go back up. Tippy Tutu, she says, I think your mom thought she was doing the right thing for you kids. And, I'd like to believe that. And I talked to Kimma, many years back as to why my parents would have left us in the Sea Org and made Scientology their priority and not even bothered to, get us to be with them. Now, Kimma's view, she says, she was good friends with my mom. And Kimma said, look, I did the same thing with my own daughter. I left my daughter to my mother to raise because I felt I need to help clear the planet. We've got the Iron Curtain was up with Russia. There was the atomic bomb had gone off, and so the Vietnam War was going on. So Kimma was like, we need to do something about this planet so that our children can have a better life. So the priority became clearing the planet so that the children could have a better life. But the children actually got neglected by the parents because of that wrong priority.
Okay. Thank you. Next question for Janis. Did Hubbard ever take the helm of the Apollo and drive it around? Would he ever loaf around and do nothing, or was he restless?
Did he ever take the helm? Okay, you want a story of my brother. My brother was on the helm. Well, actually, Suzette Hubbard had been on the helm and had gone off course. Hubbard is coming up as my brother took over from her to get us back on course. Well, Hubbard comes up to the bridge and pushes my brother off the helm. My brother has a lot of upset on this because my brother was probably 17, 18 at the time, and he was getting us back on course, but Hubbard just comes up storming because we're off course and didn't know my brother had just taken over from Suzette, his own Hubbard's daughter, to get us back on course. So yes, Hubbard has taken the helm, and I wouldn't say drive it around because that's not what you do on a ship, and it's not that simple. We were a 360-foot ship, so it wasn't just some little boat, speedboat or whatever. So yeah, there were times he did that. And also when we got a new helm, it was a gyro and it was all automatic. He would test that out every now and again. But so he has done that. And he did have his own little Chris craft that he would go speedboating around on or take the aides out sometimes. And so that answers that question. Now, did he ever loaf around and do nothing? No, he always found something to do. He was not the type to just sit in a lounge chair. Until later years on the ship, he was always doing something, writing policies, talking to people, doing research, doing supervising cases. He was always doing something. But then when we were in Hemet, and the traffic would come in, he'd do his traffic, he would make up more things to do, like work on recordings of, going through his old lectures and taking out the snaps and crackles and that type of thing. And then in the evening after his dinner, he actually would sit down and watch TV. And it was up to the messengers to figure out what to record for him, and then he would watch it. And there was one night, there was nothing else to watch, and we were going through the movies, looking at what's on TV, and we see Jane Fonda in what is it?
Barbarella.
Barbarella.
No, it's Barbarella.
Barbarella. And I'm so I'm like, oh, look, there's a Jane Fonda movie here, Barbarella. So he said, okay, well, let's watch that. So we sit down and watch it. Oh, I'm so embarrassed the whole time.
Because of the sex in it?
Yes. And at that time, I guess I was probably about 19, 20 years old, but there's the sex scene with Jane Fonda. And I'm like, oh, why did I suggest this movie? So, yes, there are times he would sit around, and when we were in Hammett, he watched movies every night.
And Janis, didn't you guys used to like to watch the TV show Soap?
Oh, yeah, that was the Messengers.
Yeah, I know.
Well, everyone at WHQ, Professor Carl Khan would probably remember this, but when Soap was like the #1 TV show series, we would eat dinner fast, and every one of us would, get down to the rancho where the TV and the lounge was, and we'd turn on and we'd all just sit there watching Soap. That's when Billy Crystal was just starting out. He was doing his little
this guy.
Yeah. Vanquilitus, yeah.
Okay, great. Let's go on to the next question here. We've got a few more questions, and then we'll wrap this up here. Let's see here. Question for Janis. Did Hubbard ever take the helm? Oh, I did that one already. Sorry.
Yeah.
And did I do this one too? Oh, no. For Janis, when you were in the RPF in 78, did you do any sort of co-audit, more drug rundown or anything else?
Yes, I did a co-audit with Bill Fosdick. And, I was in the middle of OT3. And I was assigned the RPF. And so we were CS to run R3R, Dianetics on each other. And it was funny. I remember auditing Bill, and Bill would say, wait on a minute. And then he'd process, he'd done OT3 for so long, he'd sit there and try and address whatever was going on using OT3. Instead of doing the R3R, and then he'd come back. Okay, we can continue now. It was, to me, it was like, really? I had not had as much experience as him on OT3. But so then while we were doing this, it then came out that, oh, wait a minute, OT should not be doing Dianetics. And so we weren't to do any of that. So then I just did my OT3 and went all the way up to old OT7 on the RPF, because I was in the non-interference zone and no one knew what to do with me. And then meanwhile, NED for OTs, NOTS came out.
Yeah. Okay, next question, Janis. Janis question, why did everyone sign much love or with love or on ship reports?
Okay, Hubbard used to sign everything Love Ron. These SO1 letters.
Love R. Love R.
Love R. Ron, yeah, but SO1 letters were Love Ron. And his telexes would be Love Ron or LR. And then when the messages took over doing Watchdog Committee, trying to make it not sound so tough, they just would say much love, so that you knew that they weren't mad at you. They're just telling you what to do. And so that became a thing. Everyone then started using much love.
Listen, David Miscavige would send, the equivalent of emails to people, including me, and it would be much love, Dave. You know what I mean? Much love, Dave. Everything, even anything he wrote, he'd write much love, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was started by the that was started by the Messengers as Watchdog Committee.
I had a hard time when I left in terms of like, what do I now, and close my emails with and all that. Now I just do sincerely, Mark or whatever. It's just hard to figure out what to do.
I look and see, well, how did the person before me, sign off respectfully or best, or, okay, I'll do it the same way.
Yeah. Okay, next question. We got a couple more here, and then we'll be wrapping up here. This is, hello, I'm glad to see you on a live chat. There is an uptake videos regarding child abuse in the Sea Org. Do you guys think a class action lawsuit would make a change? I don't know. I mean, anytime you sue, it's always a nightmare, because you're dealing with Scientology, who has endless resources and will fight it to the death. You know what I mean? It takes years and years and years. So it's just a question of deciding if it's worth it or not.
Well, and a lot of money, and sometimes, do you really want to put those people back through that trauma? I look at all these second geners and how they were raised, and that's part of one of the reasons when I got pregnant, I wasn't going to raise my kids in that, where I was dictated to, and no, you can't see your child. And, you're going on mission, so someone else is going to watch your child while you're gone. And I mean, it was terrible. I would not wish that on anyone. And so I have a feeling for those second geners, but some of them are surviving pretty good and some aren't. But to put them through that again, and to just have the courts come back and say, well, that's per their scriptures. We're not going to do anything about it because they're following the scriptures, having all these children do TR0 and reach and withdraw and, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very, very thin line.
Religion, it's First Amendment, it's a nightmare. I mean, any lawsuit against Scientology, you got to weigh the pros and the cons. And it's very few people. I mean, I hate to say this, but they have defense themselves very well legally, and it's really hard, and they have unlimited resources, so it's tough.
Yeah, and also, what's the statute of limitation? I mean, I could have done a lawsuit, that I was a slave, but where do you go? And the money, you don't have money to pay for the attorneys.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the question there. Brooklyn Kaylee, question. Been binging your channel and curious if you have any of the receipts on the stories your guests tell. Is there any hard proof a court would accept? And also, could you start to show rather than tell? Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we let people tell their stories, and some of them, we know the people and we know the stories as well as corroboration, but no, we don't. I mean, we accept people, tell their story, and hopefully they're telling the truth. What about you, Janis?
Well, you're asking about receipts. Most people, when they leave, they're not going to bring their ethics file with them. They're not going to bring everything's taken, or you just take as little as you can just to get out. Sometimes you just got the clothes on your back. I mean, you look at Dylan Gill, he lived under a bridge for a long time while he got a job and made some money to buy, to be able to get an apartment. You start with nothing, so you don't have the receipts. All you have is other people who are there with you that could testify, but you don't have those condition orders or that comment that says, throw him overboard or throw him in the lake or make him stay up for a week without sleep. You just don't have that.
Yeah, I snuck out one document where they canceled all of my certificates when, 2 months before I was leaving. It was a one-page document, and it so upset me. It was one of the main reasons why I left. And when security was going through all my stuff before I was finally allowed to leave, I actually took that, folded it up, put it in my pocket, and hid it and brought it out. I still have that to this day. It's all folded up and tattered, but I still have it. But that's the extent of what I had that I was able to take out. All of my photographs, they were taken. I had photographs with Miscavige and all these different people, all gone, Now, since then, we've had a lot of private investigator shit and stuff like that happen here. We have photographs with those people. We have photographs, and we use them in our channel. I'm sure you noticed that when you watch our videos, we use photographs. We use quite a few of them, even on the Apollo. Janis has collected a trove of photographs of the Apollo and stuff. So that's kind of what we have, and as well as other people's stories that corroborate what happened,
Yeah. Well, also, when I left, I had an base storage unit because I'd gone to the Free Winds and I thought, while I'm at the Free Winds, I'll have an off-space storage unit so I know everything's safe if someone is put in my room while I'm gone. And so when I blew, I thought, it's off base, my storage is safe. And I had receipts in there. I even had birthday cards from LRH and letters from LRH, you know, all sorts of valuable stuff like that. And when I left, they broke into my storage because one person knew how to get into my storage in case I needed something while I was on the Free Winds. And that person was taken to my storage, and security, Jackson, broke the lock, cut the lock, and they went through everything. I even had a small safe in there, and they broke into the safe and took everything. Photographs. They took
all your personal LRH letters that he wrote to you personally in his own handwriting. They took them all.
Yep. And all my birthday cards, all those years, all signed by him and Mary Sue.
Question, Adam Kimona. Mike Rinder mentioned that Dave installed copper wires to offload charge. Were these wires common knowledge? I mean, that happened after we left. I mean, that's something he said. Tom DeVocta said it and all that. I mean, that's another, trip to Crazy Town by good old little Davey. You know what I mean? I don't know where you got that idea from. Thanks for the question. And also, Adam has another question. How tense did things get when all that money was lost on those oil wells? That was an Author Services, ASI situation. Terry, your sister told us about it. I think it was kept quiet. What do you think?
It was kept very quiet. Just a few people knew that they had to get those prints being sold to make up for that.
Yeah. And they did. They sold millions of dollars worth of those prints that are really worthless. They're only as valuable. It's art. It's only as valuable as you're willing to pay for it, And then we've got Russ Stake has a comment on Soap, the TV show. I remember a TV lounge in MCI where people would sit and eat and watch reruns of The Hulk rather than Soap. Kind of silly. It was aimed at 10-year-old boys. Yeah, I remember that that little lounge. I remember that with the big screen TV. Yeah, absolutely, in MCI.
Yeah. Well, MCI, that was different to when we were in La Quinta.
But with MCI,
the lounge was in, In the MCI, we even had the TV at the bar, and people in lower conditions would sit at the bar with the TV going. And everyone had TVs in their room, and then Hubbard ordered those taken out, and it got outlawed, Yeah,
no more TV for anybody. We didn't have TVs for years, Anyway, let's see here. Hold on. Did I mess it up? How do I get rid of that? Uh-oh. Here we go. Okay. Any other questions, everybody? We've gone through all the questions that we had. If you got any last questions, we've been going now for an hour and 17 minutes, and we appreciate y'all being here. Just to let everybody know, we just finished recording 3 interviews with Ira Shaliff. Janis, you want to remind who Ira Shaliff is?
Ira, I've known Ira since I was 10 years old. He was on the Royal Scotsman. And this was in 1968. He was a Class 6 auditor, had done the briefing course at St. Hill. And he later went, and a lot of people knew him when he was the commanding officer of the American St. Hill in Los Angeles, ASHO. And he was on that for years. And then he went to the UK, and he was the commanding officer of the AO St. Hill, UK. And so we just did 3 interviews with him, and we got to do a 4th one because he remembered more stories that he hadn't put in the other 3 interviews. So those are something that'll be fun to look forward to. And he actually became very well known and in Washington, D.C. because he became very successful as like a coach in politics or how to do the administration within Congress. And he was working with, with the vice president and the congressmen and the senators. And so he became very distinguished in that field.
After leaving Scientology, after he was, left Scientology in 1983 or 84, whenever it was. But, he started with nothing and became very successful. He's had books written and all that. So anyway, we did 3 interviews with him. I've got to edit them together. There'll be 3 separate ones, but they'll be coming out here shortly. And then I hope you guys enjoyed the other videos that we recently did. Janis commenting on David Miscavige's social media and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Commenting on the L. Ron Hubbard hall that they're now going to be raising millions of dollars for. It just gives them another reason to empty out people's pockets, it's just another, like I said in the video here, you've got DM with a shovel and that's not full of dirt. It's full of bullshit. And these people are listening to it.
Oh, Mark, when I wasn't there when you did that, but when I was listening to it, I just couldn't stop laughing when you said the BS.
Yeah. I know. I just couldn't resist. I just happened and all that. We got one other question here, and then we'll get off here. Again, from YouTube Watcher, on OT levels, is the idea to get fully rid of the BTs, or when they get rehabilitated, they become like spiritual helpers? My understanding, because I did it, you know what I mean, was the idea was to release them and set them free, and then they could go find their own bodies and their own things. That was my understanding. I don't think there was any further.
That's my understanding as well. I guess they could go sit on a rock, or they could go get another body.
That's right. Okay. Well, everybody, we want to thank you all for being here. Please subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, hit that notification button. Janis likes to say rock slam it. It helps us get the videos out, and we've got more coming. And then we've got some other things that are in the works that I think you all are going to enjoy in the future. Also, you can order Janis's liquid vitamins, and you'll see that there. If you'd like to get a copy of Janis's book, Commoner's Messenger, Book 1, that's Janis with LRH when she was 12 years old on the deck of the Apollo. And then Commoner's Messenger Book 2, there she is as a teenager with Hubbard. You can order them down below. You can get autographed copies, and she'll send them to you anywhere in the United States. And they're well worth having, and the books are full of photographs and stuff. So if you'd like, you can order them down there below. Janis, is there anything else I wanted to mention? If you have any other questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Yep. And then we can answer them there if we didn't get to them tonight.
And I just want to say, I appreciate all my friends and our followers on this channel. And, it's been a great 36 years of freedom, and I'm ready for more years of freedom. And if anyone needs help, we're here for you.
That's right. And if anybody's here from the Free Zone, I wanted to mention this. Anybody here from the Free Zone or Independent Scientology, and you'd like to come on and tell your story about what you do in the independent field, we'd be happy to have you on and do a show with you. So if anybody's out there, just email us. You know what I mean? There's contact information below in our video descriptions and all from there, or mention in the comments. Okay. Anything else, Janis?
Okay. No, I just have a great day, everyone. Good evening.
You too. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye.